who shows up. I got a bunch of knives here. We're not going to do the typical thing where I run back and forth because, well, I'm connected to a hard line for power over here because my phone isn't charged as highly as I would like. So let me chat filter all messages. There we go. So in the living room, because it's nice in here. It's too bright outside. So let's see who shows up. Last live feed, we had a lot of fun, and I thought, why not do it again? I may have to take you guys over to make a cup of coffee, but so I have a bunch of knives here that would fall into the categories of combat knives and a bunch that fall into the category of outdoor knives and a handful of them that kind of blur those lines, which is a thing with combat knives. So I'm gonna see how long it takes before we get some people here. It says there's no one watching. I was hoping to do it about this time because I figured it was a better way to bridge the gap on the time frame for people East and West Coast. So it's close enough into the afternoon. Some people on the West Coast or East Coast might be off, and it's lunchtime here on the West Coast. So, and well, screw everybody in the middle. So, yeah, but like I said, I've got a bunch of what would be considered combat knives, and I had a bunch of what would be considered outdoor knives, and we're gonna look at how they kind of blur the lines and what you guys think about it. I did a video on this, but I like doing things like this live because it gets some input from you guys on your take on it. So yeah, my daughter, you may hear some background noise. My daughter is getting her lunch ready. She's getting ready to go meet some friends and hang out. But what do you guys think is like the quintessential combat knife? Because I have one. I guarantee it's going to be the one that you guys think of. So let me know, what do you guys think the most quintessential combat knife is? And I've got one here. But I also, like I said, have outdoor knives like this, which are much more function over form. But it's actually absolutely gorgeous. So where did everyone go? There was like 8 people here. So this is an outdoor knife. This is like an everyday carry outdoor knife. This is what I would have carried on the farm. This is really similar to what I would have carried going hunting and things like that because it is just an amazing all-around outdoor knife. Mine needs touched up because I did something stupid. Yeah, I'm waiting on somebody to actually let me know. Can you even hear me? Is the audio working? Can you hear me? Let me know if the audio is working because I didn't test it. I did connect it, right? Okay, it looks like it's a good skinner. It's not as good a skinner as other knives. It's a little bit long. When you get a skinner, you want some, me personally, I mean, if in a pinch, like you're just out in the outdoors and you just need a knife to do the task, yes, this would work very well. It would work really well as a hunting knife, just like a buck 119 or buck 120 special, things like that. Okay, cool, you can hear. For skinning, I prefer a dedicated skinner. Shorter blade, longer handle, much more control, especially around the gut area, because any of you guys that know, this would be more almost like caping, getting around being able to get around joints and things like that. That would be good for field dressing. But as far as actual skinning, I prefer something with a much shorter, broader blade, a lot more curved, with a big handle that I can actually get a hold of. And I've got that absolute control from the pivot or from the pinch grip up. I think I would find this to be a little long for skinning. You lose a little bit of the control up near the tip. But for a general all-around outdoors knife, yeah, you could use this. So this is a knife that would be great for outdoor tasks like that. And then, like I said, really another one that falls into that category is the Buck 119. This would be a great all-around knife for outdoors. You can, absolutely, you can get up on this and skin. I'm not answering stupid questions, Gorilla with a fedora. I'm not even going to read your question. So no trolls get responses here. But yeah, this is another one that is just kind of a quintessential outdoor knife. Been around for like 80 years. So been a design that's been around for like 80 years. It's been one that has stood the test of time. Some people complain about it. They don't like the handles. They say that they're easy to break. I have had zero issues. My dad had a 119 special that he carried for years, and carried it for years. And this was something that he always took hunting, because you can't just do all the tasks with one knife. So we would have multiple. But as far as like an outdoor knife, this would be one. What's the biggest one I got? I think the Grizzly. So that's I'm sorry, kilo leanin. I have a knife called the Grizzly, and I didn't bring it in here because it's a great big knife. It's done by Work Tough Gear. It's probably the biggest knife I own, but yeah, it's definitely along the lines of something that is more like a small machete. And if you guys are here, double tap the screen, and it sends a like. But there's some overlap, and what I was saying was the quintessential combat knife. And this is where we're going to get into the overlap. The quintessential combat knife for years has been the K-Bar by K-Bar in Olean, New York. They've been knife makers. They've made knives for the military for years, and the K-Bar for a lot of years has just been the quintessential combat knife. What is this? KC Outdoor Living. There was a Queen cutlery plant a couple towns over. They made a bunch of folding knives. I wish they were still making stuff. Do I like flick knives? That. I like all knives. You're not gonna find a type of knife that I really don't like, except butterfly knives. I'm a big fan of butterfly knives. I have switchblades. I've got all kinds of stuff. But at any rate, but that kind of is where I was going, was like, if you look at these two knives, and I did a full like video about it, but it's a lot more fun when I have you guys available here to tell me what you think. I mean, so this knife and this knife, they're so similar. Like, you can see people did carry this Buck 119 special in World War II. They carried it in Vietnam because some people didn't like this knife. This knife is just unwieldy. This is a much more manageable style knife. What are the laws? Kilo leanin. What are the laws on carrying knives in my country? I carry a knife everywhere. As a matter of fact, that's what got me laid off from my job, because not that the company thought it was wrong. Apparently on site you weren't supposed to have knives, which is a stupid rule. Carrying a knife here, I can carry anything I want as a pocket knife in San Diego. If I go up to LA, it's a little bit different, but I can carry pretty much everything that I have here on the table. Everything you've seen, I can legally carry where I'm at here. I carry this all the time. So carrying a knife here isn't that big of a deal. I carry locking knives. I can carry, all joking aside, I've worn this on my hip to the store, which is a knife we're going to look at here in a little bit. Pretty much all of these knives at one point or another have been on my belt when I went to the store. This is an outdoor knife that here where I'm at, asking about the laws there, kilo leanin. It's if you're carrying a pocket knife, it doesn't matter. If you're carrying a pocket knife, it doesn't matter. If you're carrying a fixed blade, you can basically carry anything you want in San Diego as long as it is not concealed. And so this knife, just put that away. That's how I cut myself the last time I was doing a video kind of like this where I had a bunch of knives out. I cut the absolute crap out of my thumb. I can't feel this side of that thumb anymore. I cut it all the way across, all the way like half an inch deep. I carry this almost all the time. I go on walks with the dog in the neighborhood with it and stuff like that. So this I can get away with as long as it's not concealed, as long as it's on the outside. So this is a tool. That's the difference. In the UK, they decided that you can't have anything. I've heard that they confiscate scissors and like people are going to work and they're getting, why do you have a screwdriver in your car? It's my toolbox. I'm going to fucking work. I mean, that's ridiculous if you're like a tradesman and things like that. Do I prefer carbon steel or stainless steel? It's hit or miss for me. I have, like this is a carbon steel knife that belonged to my father. As you can see, it's got some rust on it. This belonged to my father. It actually has his initials marked in the blade. This is made from an old file. This is carbon steel. Carbon steel's great. The problem I have with carbon steel is two things. Jeez, you can really see that scar. Two things. I literally live 2.5 miles from the ocean. There's salt water everywhere. There's salt water in our cars. There's salt water in the air. It's humid. When it does get humid, it's really humid. I also have a tendency, even in the stainless realm, to be able to, this is crewware, which is technically a stainless steel. I can rust it. D2, stainless steel, closer to the carbon steel, like tool steel side of the house. But I absolutely can make these rust. So I absolutely prefer stainless steel, but I do understand why some people like carbon steel. Carbon steel is more resilient. It's not anywhere near as, it has a much less chance, a much lower chance of chipping or cracking or breaking, but you give up a lot of, when you get that, you give up a lot of the rust resistance. I personally like stainless steel. I don't do like a lot of bushcrafting. I live, what, 10 miles outside of San Diego City, if that. Hang on. I'll tell you. I'll tell you how far it is. How far is it from here to downtown San Diego?
San Diego, California is about 15 miles away by car.
I'm 15 miles outside of San Diego. I don't do a lot of bushcraft or camping and stuff like that. Casey's Outdoor Living. As an electrician, it's pretty hard to do anything without a screwdriver or a knife for that matter. Yeah, it absolutely is. D2 is great, but I'm also in the Great Lakes, so salt is an issue. It's my sweat on top of that. I can make, my buddy is like, I've never had crewware rust. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Crewware doesn't rust that while. You can't, it's not that. And I'm like, bro, I can make crewware, I can make D2, I can make M390 and a bunch of other much more rust resistant steels. I can make them rust. It's just something about my sweat. I also, sunglasses, my sweat strips the gloss, like reading glasses and stuff, like my reading glasses. When I sweat, like that shiny finish that's on them, it like eats it off. There's like something acidic about my sweat. Everybody's sweat's a little bit different. Mine will destroy the steel in a knife. But as being within 50, the like button says being within 15 miles of the California border is too close to me. San Diego is actually not that bad. It is pricey and all that, but it's not as off the rails crazy as a lot of other places in California. Like if you go to LA, it's ridiculous. San Diego's not that bad. There's a lot of military here. It's a much more, I don't know what you want to call it, not conservative, but it's definitely not the crazy over the top leftist liberal stuff that you see happening in Northern California and Berkeley and San Francisco and stuff like that. It's actually a pretty quiet town. So great for me is this, all of my survival knives are stainless. Yeah. So, but back to the thing. I have some like honest to goodness combat knives. This is a fighting knife. This is absolutely double-edged, hollow ground on both sides. This is a fighting knife. This is, no joke, this is the knife that I take if I'm going up to the areas that I know where there's mountain lions, because there's mountain lions right here. I'm in that weird area of California where I'm between the ocean and the desert and the mountains, and so we have coyotes, we got mountain lions and all that. As a matter of fact, I saw a mountain lion out here in the street a couple years ago. I was taking the trash out. If I'm going up on the mountain, I know I can't carry a pew-pew because, well, it is California. That is one of the ones. I can't carry a firearm, I'll carry this. This is something that you could end an attack from an animal with relatively quickly. It's sharp on both sides. It doesn't require a lot of thought. It's sharp coming and going, and it's got a really pointy tip, and it's not going to come out of your hand because it's a sub-hilt fighter. But this is a fighting knife. This is a combat knife. This isn't something you're going to carry. Like if I'm going camping, this is not what I'm grabbing. If I'm going on a hike where I know there's mountain lions and coyotes and I'm going early in the morning, this is what I'm carrying, and it's got a fairly easy to carry sheath. I'm not a fan of the Secure X. If you watched the last live feed I did, I talked about how it fucks up the edges on your knives. But for what I need it for, it's perfectly fine. Do I have a K-bar? It's one of the first knives I showed, frankly, gaming. It's right here. So that the K-bar is the quintessential like US fighting knife, the combat knife. But then I pointed out that was the whole point of this was you point out that this and this are super, super similar. K-bar, it's my USN K-bar. Buck 119 Special. I mean, all intents and purposes, they're the same knife. This, I find to be superior to this in a lot of ways. And the tang on this probably isn't as strong. Handles probably aren't as strong. It's shiny, so it's not a combat, but I'm gonna tell you right now, this is heavy and unwieldy. This you can actually do things with. It's nimble, it's light, it's easy to carry. This, not so much. And I've argued for years that they need to revisit fighting knives for the military, and some people have, and I made one, I designed one. We talked about that in a live feed here not too long ago. A lot of people, actually it was in a video I did about, I have over 200 knives, but do I need them all? Where I was justifying why I have so many knives. This is a very, very good knife for a lot of the things that I would want. The knife I designed did everything I wanted. No, actually it was the 6 knives I would trust my life with was the video I had done that I was talking about this and my other knife. Most people have realized that the K-bar, it's not 1943. I'm not going to dispatch my enemies in a ditch anymore. I want something that's more nimble and I can do small tasks with and things like that. That's why a lot of guys will have a fixed blade knife, but they'll also then have a folding knife. When I designed my stonefish, not to go on a tangent about my design, when I designed my stonefish, it was because I wanted something that I could do that would do both. I didn't have to have, fuck, I may as well go get it. I'm just gonna grab this whole power bank and take you with me. I'll go grab it and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I wanted something, and I never got it. What I wanted was something that would do all the tasks that I wanted, but still allow me to be able to have a fighting knife if I needed it. And my design is right here. And so I sat down and I came up with a bunch, and I had friends that were SEALs that I knew. And so what I did was I had them basically be my product testers. So I made knives and I just gave them to them. I made customs. And when I got a design that all three of the last 3 that I sent out were all the same, and when I got to a design that those guys were like, I love it, don't change, like, what would you change? They're like, I wouldn't change anything, it's perfect. So I designed this. I designed this because it's a fighting knife. It's got all the trappings of fighting. You got your forward guard, you've got your rear guard, you've got an impact tool back here. If you're one of those guys that thinks you want it in a reverse grip, you've also got a ramp with jimping here for stabbing if you need to. Nice and thick, reinforced tip, but it's also not that much bigger than a large folding knife. It's not unwieldy. You've got that forward choil where you can get up on it. It's got a double thumb ramp, so you've got a spot here. You can get up on it like this if you need to do detailed tasks or scrape or do something. It's got jimping there. And removable handles, because a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? Why is it always such a thing with you with removable handles? If you're in a wet environment, I was in a Navy for my entire adult life. Moisture gets under there. Even if it's a really rust-resistant steel, moisture and salt get under there. You want to be able to remove your handles and clean under it. So I came up with all the stuff that I could think of. I wanted it so that you can carry it scout carry and things like that. But you could also put it on your gear. And guys that were doing guys that I know that the SEALs, they're like, the only thing I would say is I want a lanyard hole. And I was like, well, hear me out. That's what this third hole is for. You don't need all three of these pins. This handle is stable. You take this screw and hardware out, you can run a lanyard through it. If you want a lanyard, that winds up being your lanyard hole. So I put a lot of thought into it. And like I said, I sent it out with a handful of SEALs that I knew when they would go on deployments. When they went on deployment and they came back and they told me that they really loved the design, and then I got it licensed. So I think these are still available at a lot of websites. This is the stonefish, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I don't know. I make no more royalties from this knife. The company paid me out for the full run of knives that they did. I think that at one point these were $250, but they've went on sale a few times at different sites, and this is a one-for-one replication of the custom knife that I was making and had made a bunch of. It's fairly decent blade stock. The only thing I would say is, for a lot of guys, they want something to be able to strike the ferro rod with, and so some guys were saying they were striking their ferro rod with this area here of the edge, and I was like, well, the jimping is definitely sharp enough to hit a ferro rod with. So that would be the only thing. If I change anything, I think I would give it a 90-degree spine at the very front and not have it be crowned and take off all the sharp edges. But yeah, it's still plenty good to carry as a combat knife, but it hits all the wickets. You can do everything with it. Campsite stuff, making tent stakes, things like that, cut open an MRE and things like that, because that was the whole point of it. I only had to carry one knife. So the knife I was carrying on my belt meant I didn't have to carry shit in my pockets and add weight and stuff like that. I never carried it. I designed this after I retired from the military. Kind of sad. I wish I had come up with this earlier, but I definitely love how We Knife Company did such a good job replicating this. So there, we've covered. Oh, before you guys follow Jared Neves over at Neves Knives, Jared Neve. Jared sent me his knife, the Misdemeanor. So there's some changes to this. He said in the final design, this is a prototype. This is a very, very interesting knife. It just came yesterday. I'm gonna do a video about it. He's gonna send me info about the changes that were made to it. This thing is pretty nuts. It looked weird when I looked at it. It looked weird when I opened it, but I gotta say, I'm digging it. I'm digging it. But guys like me and Jared that have reviewed so many knives, what's up?
Do you remember if tank tops are in the dress code? I think they're not allowed, right?
At where?
The gym. The dress code.
No tank tops. I think no tank
I can
tops.
wear shorts though.
You can wear shorts, just no tank tops. My daughter's getting ready to go to the gym. What's the matter, buddy? What's the matter, buddy? Did she wear you out on a run this morning? Or on a walk? At any rate, I forget what I was talking about. The like button says I bought a Marine Raider knife and the Mongoose knife. I like them, but looking for a better knife for hunting, camping, hiking, outdoor stuff. Okay. How convenient that I have several of them here. Because like I said, there's a big difference between combat knives and outdoor knives. This is yet another combat knife. That's a combat knife. This really doesn't have any other purpose. This isn't something, like, it's really not the knife that you're gonna take camping with you. It's definitely built as a fighting knife. It has all the things you want in a fighting knife. This, while it's a great knife, I mean, could you? Yeah, a lot of people would take this. It's a lot like a Bowie knife. When you think about it, and you know, I say that, but this is also a great all-around outdoor knife. I'm gonna get you to a great, the like button, I'm gonna get you to a great outdoor knife here in a moment, actually 2 of them. This is a stag handle Bowie done by Puma Knife Company, Puma Knives in Germany. This is new old stock. This is an old 80s knife. This knife was made in the 1980s, early 90s. I found it new in box, bought it, didn't really have to pay that much for it. I actually wore this as a replacement for the K-bar for a while. I didn't like the K-bar. I carried one of these when I was deployed. I carried this one for a while at one point. It was great, sharpens up nice, really rust resistant. It's a good looking knife. But like I said, these 2 knives are very, very similar. They're basically Bowie knives, both of them. This is a small Bowie, this is another small Bowie. If you're looking for a really, really good outdoor knife, the like button, there's 2 that I have here that I will recommend. This is the North Country EDC 2 by Bark River Knives. This one is first production run. This was done in S45 VN, I believe. Hang on, I gotta look. I'm not even gonna answer that. What's it matter? What's it matter, I'm American. That shit. Don't be putting flags and asking nationalities and shit in my chat. We're not gonna start that shit. This is a great, great knife for the outdoor guys. The S45 VN, it's made in the United States. It is probably one of the best outdoor knife companies. They have got such a great, great warranty. This is such a great, great knife if you're an outdoorsman. Bark River Knives does a lot of really cool stuff with handles, and they're not ridiculously expensive. It is built to be an outdoor knife, and your warranty on this is just insanely good. Now, I don't carry this one for a reason. It was a gift, but that's not the reason. It's the handles on it. Like, I just can't bring myself to drag this out anywhere. It was a couple reasons. I can't bring myself to drag this gorgeous, gorgeous knife out anywhere where it's going to get destroyed and dirty. So this is one that kind of just stays here at the house. But I can tell you, if this just had wood handles, I would use this all the time. But the knife itself is incredible. This is so, so sharp. One of the other reasons that I don't carry this is because the sheath on this is not as comfortable. So that's one of the things, like, you got to look at when you're gonna carry a knife. This has a 2 position. You can put your belt here, or you can put your belt here, and you've got, Nick Shabazz just texted me. Let me see what Nick had to say. My daughter just sent me a text. Ooh, we have to schedule an appointment with her. She's got an issue that we're dealing with. So you can see your belt sits here, right? Which means that this is gonna be in your side. I'm nowhere near as slender as I was when I was in the military almost 20 years ago. I've been retired since 2009. That should tell you guys how old I am. So this belt loop here puts this knife in an issue on your body. Now, you can carry this scout carry. That is an option. You can carry this small on your back, you can carry this on your side, and you can then carry it scout carry, and then it's not an issue. but I usually don't like to carry I don't typically carry that knife. What I do carry a lot, my sister sent my dog a toy that has 34 squeakers in it. Let me see it. He's got it. So you're gonna hear him squeaking. Can you see how this sits below your belt? So this doesn't dig in. That's one of the first things I look at on a knife is how it's gonna carry and how it's gonna sit against my body. This will swing away when you sit down. Comfort level, especially if you're going out in the woods. This doesn't swing away, this like stays in your side the whole time. It's one of the things I don't like about it. This, a lot of times, I dig that. And people are like, well, it's gonna fall out. I don't plan on doing a lot of handstands or, you know, cartwheels while I'm out and about doing things. And by the way, Lon Humphrey Customs, if you're interested in this one, the Tucson, I have a link to Knives Ship Free, which is his only US vendor. It's his only authorized vendor. These are all custom and handmade in Ohio, just down the road from where I grew up, is where Lon makes these. But this was a gift from Zachary Schmidt. I think Zach Schmidt sent this to me, one of the longtime subscribers of the channel. But the way it sits against your body is something you really want to consider. So it's a really good. I don't like any of the Gerber knives, Sinai Ghost. I don't put a lot of stock in the quality of Gerber anymore. This is another really good outdoor knife. This is the Lion Steel M3 or M6. I can't remember which it is. Lion Steel, really, really good outdoor knife, right? It's a great outdoor knife. These are knives that don't fall into that bridging the gap between combat and outdoor knives. This is a great, great, great knife. What do you think about the Phobos Legion knife? I haven't gotten to see it, Marcelo. I have not gotten to see one. Lone Star, how are you, sir? But this is another one, sits nice up against the body. It doesn't get you a lot of like in the side and things like that. Sits nice and flat. And it also has got a way you can put you can actually make like a crossbody strap for this, like a harness. And you carry it across body. It's got a stone pouch on it if you want to put a stone in it. But this is a great knife, micarta handles and stuff like that. This one is in Nylox, which is a very, very good, resilient, and rust-resistant steel. It's equivalent to N690, but it takes an insane edge, holds it pretty well. It has held up its finish pretty well. But the nice thing about a broad blade is it allows it to transition. So even with thick blade stock, relatively thick knife, you've got a really stable platform, but you've also got a very good cutting edge. So there's a lot of room to transition, and you can get up on this and really power into a lot of cutting. And if you guys would please double tap the screen or find the 3 dots and hit the like button. There's 3 little dots, click on it, brings up the like button. That doesn't cost you a thing. It's free. Just go over and press it gently. But yeah, another great outdoor knife that is strictly an outdoor knife. But then there are some combat knives that aren't even close. Like we said, there's some of those combat knives. Oh, I got one more. Nah, 2. I don't know. That one might fall into the realm too. But this is just another great, just all around outdoor knife. This is Cold Steel's version of Lloyd Pendleton's knife. Now Lloyd Pendleton and the owner of Cold Steel, can't think of his name. I've had a lot of head traumas. Lynn Thompson. Lynn Thompson and Lloyd Pendleton got together and made a production version of Lloyd Pendleton's Custom Hunter. So this is the Pendleton Custom Classic done by Cold Steel. They still do make this knife. It unfortunately no longer comes with a leather sheath, which is a running thing with Cold Steel knives. I'll show you that in a second. No longer has a leather sheath, but this is an old one. I've had this since before my daughter was born, as a matter of fact, or just about the time my daughter was born. So about 15, 16 years I've had this. This thing is a great, great knife. It's more of a hunting knife. This is more along the lines when I was talking about a skinning knife earlier, where I like a shorter blade with a lot more belly, something you can get up on. This kind of is getting closer to what I would want in that, where you've got more control up at the tip of the knife for doing things like peeling back and skinning around things like that. This is a much better knife for that than the first knife that we talked about, which was my Lon Humphrey Custom Tucson, which will do the job, but you can see it's a little bit smaller, it's a little bit more dedicated to that purpose than this one. So then there's some weird stuff that I've got that's just crazy outdoors. This is a company that I think is pretty much going out of business, but this is fantasy functional, but it absolutely still does work. This looks like something crazy, like you would see like a Gil Hibben, but this is functional. Most of the Gil Hibben knives that you see, those crazy over the top knives, they're not functional. This is functional. This is a great, great knife. The guy that made this, his name is Brock Woodson. There's a lot of stuff going on with him right now that we're probably going to talk about on a video in the future, but like if you can find Brock Woodson on Facebook, just reach out, tell him I said to send you guys to give him good wishes and tell him that hopefully he gets things figured out so he can start making gorgeous, amazing knives like that in the future. That's going to be a video we talk about. He kind of, from what I can understand, kind of got fucked. What do I think about Montana Knife Company hunting knives? Okay, I've met the guys. They're good guys. They seem to be good knives. I don't think that they would be doing anywhere near as well if Joe Rogan hadn't put them on their podcast. I don't think that they're good knives, but there's a reason you don't see me carrying a bunch of them. I don't own any of them because they got a bunch of publicity. They're good knives. They are good knives. I'm not saying they're not good knives. They deserve all the recognition they get. You know, hey, American business, I just don't find them to be that much better than some of the other knives. I mean, the nice thing is they haven't went through the roof and decided like Benchmade and start charging an arm and a leg. So good on them. I'm happy for them, but I don't find their knives to be that as good for the purpose as some other knives. So, well, I mean, depending on a knife you're getting from them. But you got to remember, American-made knives are more expensive, and those are handmade knives. They're not like, I mean, like, that's like this. You're going to pay about that for this. This is handmade. This is AEBL. It's all handmade. It's all hand ground. It's hand pinned. These are done by hand. This is, for all intents and purposes, a custom knife. That is why it's called the Lon Humphrey Custom Tucson. So you got to figure those knives, the Montana Knife Company, a lot of their stuff is a handmade process. Yes, they're using machines. Yes, they're using like burger grinders and stuff like that. But they're small batch, things like that. Things are going to be expensive. You know what I mean? I would take this over a Montana Knife Company knife, to tell you the truth. I'm just hoping that they don't go crazy with the prices like some other companies do. Once they get a little bit of recognition, they're like, oh, we can charge whatever we want. Here's another knife that I'm not 100% sure how I think this falls into the categories. So this is a knife. Gavin Keller, I have been known to carry several pocket knives and a fixed blade. Matter of fact, a couple days ago, went for a walk with the dog a couple days ago, and it's about that time of the year where we got to worry about mountain lions and stuff. I had this on my belt, and I had both of these in pocket. There's most of the time you're going to find, if you run into me in public, I'm going to have at least one of these knives, if not both, and then probably, because I just sat down and when I relocated everything in my pockets, because I'm leaning way forward and I'm getting older, so I have more bulk to me than I used to. This was also in my pocket, which is the Vosteed Knives Acorn, because sometimes you need a smaller knife. And like I said, this is more along the lines of what I would want in a skinning knife. A little bit more control, you can get way up on it, you do this. This is kind of an outdoor like skinner. Most of the knives I carry have got either a purpose, but I carry these two because these are some of the best knives I've owned, recently purchased. This one is the Microtech Knives Amphibian, 100% American made. Gorgeous, gorgeous knife. This is my knife of the year. Aluminum. It's got their version of the axis lock. It's all it's titanium pocket clip. M390 MK steel, which seems to be holding up really, really well. And it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous knife. Super comfortable, super comfortable carry. And the fact is that this knife is cheaper than the first Microtech I bought back in 2015. So that means that Microtech so far is the only American company I successfully have seen lower their prices. 2015, Microtech folding knives, the DOC cost me $450. I paid $302 for this, which means that since 2015, the prices of a lot of the Microtech knives have dropped almost $150. And the quality is way better. I'm like, they're the only company I know that has increased their quality level and reduced their price all at the same time. So let's see here. I'm starting to not trust a lot of smaller knife companies. I sold one here in Tucson, was insured how great they were and started to see different things I was a little upset about. What company? I'm just curious. Maybe you can't tell me. What do you think about MagnaCut on a fixed blade? I don't know. Okay. MagnaCut's a good steel for some things. Oh, okay, I'll tell you, the like button, let me tell you about M3 Tactical Tech. I'll tell you what happened. Remind me of that. So MagnaCut is a good steel. Unfortunately for me, MagnaCut doesn't do what I want. There's a lot of the super steels that just don't quite do what I want, and it's not that they're not good steels, and I understand why, but a lot of times you start getting into powdered metallurgy and things like that, you wind up getting this super fine grain structure, which is great because then you have really consistent, really well-distributed carbides. But the problem I have is over the years, I've determined what I like in knives and what I like in steels, and I like things like this, 14C28N and M390 and 20CV, because they have larger, odd-shaped carbides. And when you have larger, odd-shaped carbides, when you have a finer grit, like you take something past 1,000 grit, you still have a tooth to it. It still bites. You have an aggressive edge, and you don't get that with things with these super fine carbides, super well distributed. Sometimes moving forward isn't always a good thing. And I find that MagnaCut just doesn't take the edge I want. And people are like, well, what's it matter if you only have to do an 800 grit edge? Well, on steel, when you have that aggressive edge, things get caught up in it, things stay in it, you get oils and things that get into the actual scratch pattern, and it does have a tendency to load up with things like adhesives and things like that. If you can take a steel up to 8,000 or 10,000 grit but still have that aggressive bitey edge because of the carbides, then there's less drag and things for adhesive and oils and fats and meat tissues to bind to because it's smoother, even though you still have that aggressive edge at the very edge. So I love some of the steels that have like the coarse abrasive carbides. D2, 20CV still has a lot of irregular carbides. 14C28N, Crewwear, some of those like that. And that is where you bridge that gap between what I want out of a super steel for consistency and things like that, but the sharpenability of these. And a lot of times too, some of these super steels are just so hard to sharpen that like you really are going to have a hard, it takes you a lot longer to sharpen. 14C28N holds an edge really well. It's really, really rust resistant. However, it doesn't take a lot to sharpen it. You don't have to have special tools. You don't have to have special stones, things like that. So there are some combat knives though, back to what the original topic of this was. There are some knives that are strictly built for combat or for fighting or for letting the air out of something or someone. One of them is the Counterattack series of boot knives from Cold Steel. And with that as well, actually there's only like 2 of them here that I can say are just distinctly built only for combat or for fighting. And it's, well, 2 of them. There's another one back here. Cold Steel has been famous for making some of the best knives for like guys like me that just like the cool factor of some things. This is probably the best boot knife on the market, is the Counterattack series by Cold Steel. It's not a knife that you're going to use to go camping and hunting and skinning animal with. It is very much got that Fairbairn Sykes, like the Sykes and Fairbairn styles that they had, like that you would get with this tapered waist, wasp waist style knife with the guard forward on each side. Then you've got very, very piercing blade, and theirs is done in that unique, it's not unique, it's been around for years. I did a video about it and somebody was like, how come you don't ever talk about like the fact that was the blade shape on some swords because it gave you the wound track? I'm just saying, in modern knives, like Cold Steel is about the only company that's doing that style. So this is something, what is this? How does the Gerber strong arm hold up today? Best combat or tactical knives? It's a Gerber. It's not the best of anything. If the Gerber strong arm probably is an okay design. I've never even seen one because Gerber knives today are fucking trash. They're trash. When Gerber was up in the Pacific Northwest, when they were making them here, and they were making them in America, they were great. And then they basically, the owners were like, sold it to another company. And they're like, there you go, make them wherever you want, do whatever you want. Gerbers today are Gerbers in name alone. Cold Steel may wind up going that path, but I have this here specifically because I wanted to bring that up because I knew somebody was going to bring it up, and I knew that this would lead to a topic of the buyout. So this is a post GSM buyout from Cold Steel. This is brand new. It has never even been in its sheath. Gerber went to trash. This is the same quality as what I saw pre-buyout. Now, there are some people that have gotten lemons, but they bought theirs off Amazon because Cold Steel is famous for selling seconds at a discounted price, and some vendors will pick those up, and they've got grind flaws and stuff like that. If you go watch Metal Complex's video, tell him I sent you, tell him about the Taipan that I got, and that's what brought it up. He got one off Amazon. Now, mine came from Blade HQ. Mine is in Sanmai steel, so you can see it's laminated steel. You can see the line on it there. The core is a different steel than the jacket. GSM bought Cold Steel. They bought the name. The thing with Cold Steel is GSM is producing their knives in the same factory as they were pre-buyout. Still made in Taiwan. It's made out of the same Sanmai. It's all that stuff. So basically what I'm seeing from the Cold Steel post-buyout, pre-buyout is not much different. This is a post-GSM buyout. So is this knife, the OSS. I haven't seen a drop in quality from the stuff from Cold Steel. Some people said they have. I know Donnie B all day had a couple knives that he got from Cold Steel that he tested heat treat on, that he did some testing and he bent the knives badly and he said the heat treat is bad. I have not had that issue. I have not had that issue with any of the ones that I got. The cold steels that I've gotten seem to have held up really well. I have a leather sheath coming for this. That's why this is not in its sheath, because if you guys know anything about cold steel sheaths, they're really, really hard. They're hard on the edge because they're made from a fiberglass reinforced nylon that just ruins the edge on your knife. So Ghost Knives says, what do I, oh, wait. Picals, bro, picals. I have a folding pical. I'll go get it here in a minute. We'll talk about that. That is a fight, that is a self-defense beast to have, and I absolutely love it. Isabel, can you do me a favor? The case, the knife case that's under my workbench, can you bring it here before you go? That's the thing about having kids, it's fucking amazing. Sinai Ghost, what do you think about Strider Knives B103 pocket knife? Huh? Yeah, it's on the floor underneath the workbench. I'll go get it. Just don't worry about it. Oh, never mind, I brought it. But that's okay, it's not in that case. I brought that case, but the knife I wanted to tell you about is not in it. I like Mick's designs, and as much as Mick is very polarizing and a lot of people don't like Mick, I like Mick. Here's the thing, I know a lot of guys that lied about their fucking military shit. There's a lot of guys that said they did special forces shit that didn't. It's upsetting, yes. But now that Mick has basically kind of, it's in here, babe. It's right there, it's behind me. I had already brought it in. I forgot that I brought it. But the knife I wanted to show him is not in it anyway. My daughter's getting ready to go to the gym. So, Mick makes really good knife designs. I have owned a couple of Striders. I like them. I like the fact that he's now getting them made high quality production. They're some of the best knives that you want to get. The SecureX sheaths, so, what's this? The like button, I gotta remind you because I do have to get going. Oh, M3 Tactical Tech. So M3 Tactical Tech was telling everybody they were making all their knives in America, they were doing all this gorgeous work, and they went from making these really rough fixed blades to all of a sudden making these really high finish, high quality folding knives. And they did there was a couple people that called them out, like, show us your facility. And when they did, it was like a barn with a couple machines and drill presses. And I'm like, okay, come to find out, there was enough proof. I was provided documentation that they were having their stuff made by a company in China. There was enough documentation, everybody did, and they shut themselves down, like they dummied up and they stopped talking about it. So they were saying their stuff was American made and it was 100% being made overseas. If you make a knife overseas, I don't have a problem with that. I have a whole case of knives behind me. A lot of them were made overseas. A lot of them were made in China. A lot of them were made in Japan. Some of them were made in Taiwan. Cold Steel makes a lot of their stuff in Taiwan. I don't have a problem with that. But if you're gonna do that, you've got to tell people. And so I called the guy out, and he said I didn't know what I was talking about. I had the documentation from somebody that I asked them for the documentation. I asked them if they could do it. They sent it. I have all that. Super Steel Steve did a bunch about it. So did Alex Steingraber. And there just was enough, there was enough there that said that they, you could see it. And I saw the stuff that they were doing at a knife show one time, and they absolutely, you cannot go from making what they were making to making what they showed later like that. You can't, especially not with the equipment they showed and all their stuff. So Zach, I was just talking about the bye babe.
Bye.
Drive safe.
Yeah.
Just remember, if you're coming back at night, the driver's side headlight is off in my car. So turn the fog lights on, because typically if the fog lights are on, as long as you have one light indicator on that side, they won't pull you over. Where'd I put it? I have my Tucson here somewhere. Oh, here it is. This, as a matter of fact, I have both the knives that you sent me here. I have both of these. Both of these knives came from Zach Schmidt. Great, great knife. So, let me see here. The Securex sheath cold steel or sending are only good to use as molds to replace. Yeah, leather sheath, yeah. Gavin says, I'm new to the fixed blade world and would be interested in 2 brands. I would be interested how they stack up against the competition. What's your experience with River Knife Company and Essie? Essie's good. Essie stuff is good. It's built to last. The Essie stuff's good. You're going to have to stay on top of it for rust prevention, but they're great, great knives. White River Knife Company is a company that I met the owners at a knife show in Long Beach. As a matter of fact, our knives were both in competition. I had a knife design that had been released, and they were in competition for best new fixed blade design, I think. At any rate, their stuff's really good too. Both of those are really good companies. The Essie stuff has stood the test of time. If you want something that's going to be a little bit thinner behind the edge, it'd be something you want to cut with. It's going to be a good cutter. The White River Knife Company stuff, pretty good. The Essie stuff has a tendency to be more of the like bushcraft, really thick behind the edge kind of knife. So, what brands are good quality? How is Buck Knives? Buck Knives are pretty good. Buck knives are usually pretty good. They're, you know, depending on what you're getting. I love the Buck 119 Special. They've got some really good wood handle outdoor knives. Their folding knives are still really good. Buck 110 is still a really good option. The materials they make them out of typically are not the materials most people are wanting. It's not super steel, so you're looking at like 440, 420. But their heat treats are where they really set themselves out. So 420 and 440 from Buck Knives is always going to be heat treated incredibly well. I've yet to have an issue with them. Now, I also don't go out and just beat the crap out of it. I'm not like batoning through stuff. Like I said, I live in the city now. I'm a country boy, but I do live in the city now, or just outside of the city. So I'm not doing the same things I would. You may want to look at something in carbon steel. So, what was this? Matt Young, almost didn't hop on at first because your views were at 69, but a few hopped off, so I got on. I still read all the comments, even if there's, hey, look, bud. Look, you're interrupting. I'm trying to get something done here. I'm trying to do something here. You are a big boy. Give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. No, give me a kiss. No, that doesn't mean, I didn't say put your paw on me. Apparently we're gonna have to deal with this. Don't knock things off with your tail. Matt says nothing beats a good old gas station knife. I have some knives that look like gas station knives, but they're like over. You want to see one that people are like, oh, wow, gas station knife. I'm like, that's a $1,200 knife. Chunk, stop. Stop. Please, bud. Chunk. It's worse than having a toddler. Stop. Tell Isabel Emler it's fine. I have to get it fixed, but the pressure is okay right now. Hang on. I have to.
Sure, I understand.
It's fine. I checked it this morning. Tire pressure sensor in my car apparently is going bad, and it just constantly tells you have low tire pressure. What was I getting ready to do? Oh, gas station knife. I've had people tell me this is it looks like a gas station knife. This does look and have all the trappings of a gas station knife. However, this is a fully hand-carved, basically a custom knife from Elliot Williamson over at Farron Forge Knife Works. Baseline on this knife was $600. The carving was another $600. So at a minimum, $600 for carving and finishing. It's got a full copper inlay that's been it's all been hand carved. Elliot did it in a fashion that he knew I would like. This is the Master Blaster 20 CV. This looks like a gas station knife, but technically it's a $1,200 knife. So, such a good knife. If you find a Master Blaster, even the baseline ones, if you can find one on the secondary market, because there were only ever 200 of these, if you can, were there 200? These Master Blasters was a collaboration. I think there was only 100 of these. If you can find one, absolutely one of the best Wharncliffe knives you will ever own is a Ferrum Forge Knife Works Master Blaster. It was a Les George and Ferrum Forge Knife Works collaboration. So, does look like a gas station knife though. I have gas station knife looking knives, but they're not. So, thanks for knowledge, the like button, thanks for knowledge, but my appointment awaits, so I will look into those outdoor knives. Cool. What's that? Me, bitch. I carry a box cutter. I could beat on it okay forever and replace the blades. I have one. The problem I have with the box cutters, with the replaceable blades, you only have that one blade shape, and there's times where that blade shape isn't going to do what you want. Vladimir says, what is your favorite grind? I'm a big fan of a flat grind. I also like a good, deep, hollow, like this, because it really gets you a very fine, easy, nice cutting edge, but it's not as robust and resilient at the tip, like this one. Much more fragile. I like all grinds. This is a knife that is in a saber grind. This is the KATSU Knives FB03. By the way, crazy sharp, all one word. Saves you 10% at KATSU Knives. They have some of the most amazing folding knives. There's a link to their website down below. I have a 10% off discount at this company. But at any rate, this is an outdoor knife based on a Japanese style knife, and it's a saber grind, which means you've got the full thickness of the blade. This has its place. It has its place, and in something like this, which is meant to do a ton of chopping, to do a ton of pounding and beating on, might be what you're looking for because it's more resilient. There's a lot more material behind that edge. Is it going to slice and cut as easily as other knives? No, it absolutely will not, because that's a very steep transition down to the edge. It's really sharp. It does cut well, but this is not going to be something that's going to be your, let's go out and let's do some fine detail cutting and things like that. This is, I need to really chop on some shit, full tang, micarta handles. It's also got a Kydex sheath. So it's definitely one of those. I do these live feeds sometimes and I get people that have never been on here and they're like, where the fuck do all these knives keep coming from? The Pikal, before I forget, that's why I left. That's why I took you guys with me. The Pikal that I wanted to show you is a folding Pikal that's done by Dirk Pinkerton. So I do see that somebody dropped a $5 donation. I appreciate that. If you guys can, I absolutely appreciate the donations because I am laid off. So currently this is what I'm doing. But if you can't, just drop a like. I'm not asking you to spend your hard-earned money. This is the inversion, and the only reason I'm doing this is because somebody mentioned a Pikal. And a Chunk, please stop, bud. Yeah, lay down there. So this is a folding Pikal, goes in your pocket, and I'll show you why I love it, is because it sits in your pocket like this, and it has one of the best wave features on any knife I've seen, and then you have a fully functioning, fully locked in, thumb ramp there, Pikal that you can use for self-defense purposes, and it absolutely sits nice and clean in your pocket. And like lightning, it is out and ready to let the air out of someone. I carry this when I go to shitty neighborhoods. This is my shitty neighborhood knife. And if you know anything about being this close to the border, there's a handful of them. I'm gonna get to your donation here in a minute. I have over 100 cold steels. Some of them are pre-GSM, some are post. Honestly, I have no issues. Yeah, I haven't either. Gavin Keller, great info, just subscribed. Cool, cute dog, thank you. He's a good boy. I actually got him, he's my service dog. I have PTSD. So he's my service dog. It only took a little bit. Big shout out to a program through the VFW that my buddy helped me find that paid for his service dog training. When you put his harness on, completely different dog. Like he's just locked to you. The best knife Ferrum Forge made was the Fortis A. We all know that. So you guys can see I have a Fortis. I believe this is the Fortis B or A. At any rate, the Fortis. Great, great knife. Ferrum Forge Knife Works, Fortis. Awesome, awesome knife. One of the best knives that they have ever made. Polar Weiss says hi. Hello, sir. It's hard to beat a good convex grind. It is hard to beat a good convex grind, which is why my new folding knife that is coming from KATSU Knives is going to be a convex grind. I don't know if I told you that. KATSU makes great knives. Like I said, 10% off, coupon code crazysharp. Just go check out their website. There should be a link to it down below. It's an amazing bunch of knives that they're making. Matt, the $5, it says, I'm a cyclist, I ride my bike in sketchy areas. What knife do you recommend for self-defense that's under $80? Under $80. That's a hard one because the ones that I know that I would carry for self-defense, like this one's $300. Yes, I'm patting you. Stop pawing at me. That's one, I'll tell you what, Matt. Find me on Instagram, send me a DM, remind me that it's you that paid the $5. I will try to come up with something for you. Just remind me that you dropped the $5 super chat asking about that you're the cyclist. You can ask me that same question. It's crazysharp on Instagram. Hit me up there and I'll try and figure something out for you. I'll look around and see. I haven't looked at like self-defense stuff. There's some neck knives. I designed a knife that's $30. It's called the Sea Snake. It's a small little Warrenclyffe. I don't have one here because I let a friend of mine borrow the only one I have left. It's okay. It's a small little Warrenclyffe knife. It's not real intrusive. You can carry it as a neck knife, or you can put soft loops on it and carry it on your belt, or you could like strap it to your gear. It's a great little knife with a Warrenclyffe blade, but it's a fixed blade. So you may want to check that one out. There's like a bunch of affiliate links down below. See if you can't find that knife. I designed it to be just like an everyday carry fixed blade. For outdoor purposes, I feel like a convex grind is the best for a lot, yeah. Vladimir, I used to be a fisherman. I actually used to go fishing with my father. I was part of the Three Rivers Bassmasters when I was in high school and with my dad. I don't fish anymore because it's just prohibitively expensive, but that is why I have the fishing hook on there. My father actually got this for me when I was like, I think I was like 8 or 9 years old. My dad got that for me and I've worn it on, I wore it on a hat for years. When my father passed away, I knew I had it somewhere and I dug it out and I started wearing it again just to remind myself of my father. So yes, I used to be a fisherman. That's an answer. How much was the Fox 599? I am also doing a fixed blade with KATSU. Zachary Smith says, weren't you doing a fixed blade with KATSU? It's two versions of the same knife. There's a folder and a fixed blade. TCal knives are great. I've talked with Tim a bunch. I've liked the knives that he's done. A lot of those are more tactical, like self-defense style knives. Sepir Yekibash says Spartan is a good knife. Yeah, the Spartan makes pretty good knives. But like I was saying, there are, wow, we just killed a bunch of time going off on a tangent, which happens on these live feeds a lot. So I was also saying there are some combat knives and fixed blade knives that are dedicated to fighting and self-defense. I showed you the best, what's currently the best boot knife. The best boot knife. Why did you go with a clip point? I didn't go with a clip point. This, another one of Cold Steel's full-on one-purpose knife. This knife has one distinct purpose. This is the Cold Steel Safe Maker 2, or Safe Maker. Fixed blade, I have designed 2 knives that have been released, and neither one of them is a clip point. This is a clip point. That's a clip point. Bowie knives have a clip point. The knife I designed, which is here somewhere, is not a clip point. It's a drop point. That's a drop point, not a clip point. The other knife I designed was a Warrenclyffe, like that. Cold steel, Tokyo Spike, or Perrin. I would not, I don't like either one of those because that's, I mean, those just weren't knives. The Tokyo Spike, neither one, the spikes really never appealed to me. But at any rate, the other knife I did, which was one I was telling him for cycling would be a good choice, is the Sea Snake, and it is a Warrenclyffe, very, very similar to this. The problem with the ones that you're saying, like the Tokyo Spike, you can't use them for anything but poking. It's not, a lot of times in defense, you want something that you can snap cut with, do a quick cut, a tap cut if you would, snap of the wrist. You're not gonna be able to do that with Tokyo Spike. It's too thick and it's too limited in the way you can hold it. So Bladed Ginger is here. Are we gonna go through this? So Zach Schmidt here asked a question about what is a tactical knife. And I would refer him back to the video I did to answer his question and called him out in it. So go back and find that video because I did a full video about what is a tactical knife. A tactical knife is just, it's a selling point. Guys, let's go make a cup of coffee. I want coffee. I've had a lot of coffee already today, if you couldn't tell, but I haven't had quite enough. So we're gonna go out here while I make a cup of coffee, which is a nice thing about having a portable battery bank. If you guys do any content creation, I'm gonna tell you right now, like this is a must, something like this, because it's got several ports. It has an actual 110 outlet on it. As a matter of fact, it has 2 110 outlets on it. It's not the one that begins with a J. I can't remember. But at any rate, these are great. I'm sorry, it has one 110, but you can put a power outlet. This thing lasts forever. I ran my TV and my PlayStation 5 off of it for an hour and a half when I tested it the first time. So they're a great thing to have because I can run my lights off of it if I need to. If I'm shooting somewhere and there's not power available, I can do all the stuff I want. You guys are gonna laugh. My buddy got me a thing of instant coffee, and I've been very surprised at how good instant coffee is these days. It's not even like expensive instant coffee. It's just taster's choice. And I got lazy the other day, and I've done it before, but this is Yo Neo. I have no idea what that is. I've never heard of those. Doesn't smell like coffee. I find it odd. I find it odd how much better instant coffee has gotten in the last few years. But I don't feel like making another pot. And the nice thing about this is it's this quick. Not Bisquick. You know what's really good about this stuff? You can make iced coffee. And you can make freehand sharpening a tie light, 6-inch. Okay, I've done a lot of sharpening videos. You can probably go back through my catalog of videos and find sharpening videos I've done. But I will tell you, I have a tie light. Hang on, let me put this back in the cupboard. I have a tie light. I do like the knife, but the first thing I did was I changed the angle on that because it's a dagger blade. This is one of the things with like OTF knives. Chunk, move. I have the temperature set on our hot water thing For the temperature, I need this to not burn the coffee and change the flavor. Bro, guys, I am a coffee guy. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different coffee makers for different kinds of coffee. We have an instant hot water thing that we use, and you can set the temperature, and I've got it set for the proper temperature to not screw up coffee if I want to do a pour over. It's great. I don't use a sharpening system. I use sharpening stones. Hang on. There's a knowing temperatures for different coffees, like you look it up. Like, and the nice thing is that this thing, if I'm making instant coffee or if I'm going to do a pour over, this has multiple settings for temperature, and you can just set it like that. So right now it's set for the majority of coffees. I can't remember what I've got it set at, but my wife doesn't ever change temperature, so it's not as hot. It's not boiling. But that's the nice thing. If you've got pre-made hot water, you don't have to worry about like putting it on the stove and warming it up and things like that. So at any rate, I'm making a cup of coffee. But Daniel, well, how have you been, sir? I do find that with the instant coffee, I have to put some. Creamer. I have to put creamer in it. And I prefer heavy cream, but they didn't have any. So, what was this exactly? Poke and move. If you're not trained in knife fighting, you just create space. Necker offers easy access deployment while in the seat. Why use a folder for that? Well, that's why I recommend it. And that Pical, that little folding Pical, that's the reason I like Picals. Let me go get it again. I'll show you. You guys can stay here for a second. The reason I like this folding Pical, and the nice thing about these microphones is you guys can still hear me even when I walk around the corner. The nice thing about this folding Pical is, do you need training for a knife? Yes, you probably should have trained and things like that for anything you carry. But the nice thing about a Pical is when you get it in hand, it's kind of intuitive. You've got the ring. It's basically like, it's hammer, fist, and drag. Hammer, fist, and drag. And this thing is incredibly sharp. And that is the nice thing about a Pical. A lot of people are like, oh, you need a karambit. I find a karambit to be a lot more thought requiring on how you're using it. But this is, okay, so this is the Pinkerton Knives inversion. You can actually take the ring off. You can swap this out with a thumb disc. You can carry this left or right hand carry. There is another pocket clip that comes with it, and you can adjust the depth of carry. I prefer to have it all the way down, but I have carried it so that it's not quite all the way down and it sticks up, and you can get a hold of the, some people find that they can get a hold of the ring a little bit better that way. And even if you don't deploy it, you can beat the ever-living shit out of the side of someone's head with that. So it's a great knife. So that's not bad coffee at all. Not bad coffee at all. What do you think of S shape? Lim Thompson thinks it's the best shape. So the S shape, actually Lynn Thompson did not come up with that. Lynn Thompson, in this case, I have to admit, and I do have to say out loud, Lynn Thompson 100% stole Spyderco's design from the Civilian. The Civilian, Matriarch 2, all had that S-shaped blade. The reason that Lynn Thompson was so on board with it was because he missed the boat. Well, he didn't miss the boat, but he was not the one that I believe it may have been the DEA asked to provide a knife for agents that could not carry a firearm because they were deep cover, provide them with a knife that required very little knowledge of knife fighting techniques that they could use to take care of themselves, which turned into the civilian. Then later, Sal Glesher was approached by the government of South Africa to come up with a knife that would be more affordable than the civilian, but provide the same things to females because there had been so many sexual assaults and attacks in the cities and on buses. And that's where the Matriarch 2 came from. The Matriarch, being female for women, it's a smaller version. It is built on the Endura series of knives, and it's a great knife. As a matter of fact, my daughter has one that I gave to her that she carries in her purse. It's a great knife, requires very little thought, a lot like a Picol. It's just a drag, it's a claw. It's a great knife. The Black Talon, some people say, is superior. I prefer the Endura series one, the Matriarch 2. I just find it to be a little bit more manageable. It's not quite as big. It's a little easier to deploy. It's a little bit lighter. And I like that. Let's see here. Knives, you know what happens in a knife fight. One person dies and the other person dies going to the hospital. There's a good chance that you're going to cut yourself. But the fact is, I'd much rather take that chance of bleeding to death on the way to the hospital after defending myself than laying down like I live in Europe. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? I'm just, the whole thing in England just pisses me off. It's ridiculous. Voyager Vaquero, let me see here. Dirk Pinkerton is a great designer, says Jack Schmidt Designs. I cannot read this any longer without my reading glasses. It's giving me a headache. Oh, that is so much better. Superseded by Cold Steel, Tiger Claw, and Black Talon 2. I don't like the Black Talon 2. The Tiger Claw was the fixed blade, if I remember right. Wasn't the Tiger Claw like the Karambit fixed blade? I think. It's not a bad knife. And some people, Winston Cobretti, Lynn Thompson invented sandmine. Yeah. Okay. Winston, when are you going to come to my house and get your fucking knives? I'm out of room. Having fucking room. It's not like I'm working. Feel free to stop by anytime. I have a ton of Winston's knives here at my house. I have at least 4 or 5. I'd rather at least have to end up tried to defend my life and ended up injured as opposed to just being a murder victim. Yeah. Craig Vincent, the serrated Vaquero is particularly effective. Recurve pulls whatever's being cut. That's the cool thing about recurves. And that's one of the things I like about this knife. And I've really come to love recurves. This one's not as heavily recurved as other knives, but when you start, it drags that material into the cut of the belly. And you actually have more cutting surface. So your actual cutting edge on this is way more than the actual blade length. You wouldn't think it, but just simply these curves, where it's radiused out and up, it's not a straight line. So you wind up with a low spot here and here. And so if you were to stretch that out, you wind up with a cutting surface. It's about this long. You really do. If you were to straighten that edge all the way out, you would have something that's about 1.5 inches longer than the actual knife itself. Yeah, I know Demco did. Unfortunately, Cold Steel's not doing it. I solved the problem for my Taipan by ordering a leather sheath from a guy that makes them. I just have to wait for it. So I've carried a ton of different knives throughout the years. And I mean literally like uncountable. I want you guys to think that there's 3,000 plus videos on this channel. 3,000 plus videos. More than half of them have been, like way more than half of them have been one knife. And multiple of them have been multiple knives. So when you figure that I've done at least 3,000 videos, even if only 2,000 of those were not, like even if like 1,000 of those knives were duplicate knives across the course of those videos, that's still 2,000 different knives that you've seen on this channel. At this point, I have carried almost every type of knife there is to carry. From switchblades to fucking the Wasp CO2 knife, to combat knives, to different steels, fixed blades, folders, weird folders, gravity knives, any knife that you can fucking imagine, I've had it on this channel. But then I get upset. I'm gonna give you a little insight. So this channel has that many videos, but I still get people like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I was like, I've done 3,000 plus videos on knives, which means I've seen more than 2,500 knives. Let's just say 2,500 different knives have come onto this channel in varying blade shapes, varying form factors, materials, all that stuff, right? I have a pretty good knowledge base on what works and what doesn't on a knife. But then factor in that I was a knife maker. I was making custom knives by hand for a good chunk of the time that I was filming those videos where I was making my own knives. I have a very distinct view on knives. You won't have to agree with me. You don't have to like everything I like. But to come in and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about for construction standards, because I have news for you. If you own some of the later Ferrum forged knives, when they were doing them in-house, when they were still USA made, before they started doing production, motherfucker, I helped make those. I did a lot of the grunt tasks in the shop because I was working in their shop, and I would come in and like, hey, don't have any big plans on working on your shit today. We need some help. I watched the guys in that shop make several thousand knives over the years that I was hanging out and working there. I have a very, very in-depth insight on what goes into making a folding knife. I have a very good knowledge base of what goes into heat treating steels and what works and what doesn't, because I made my own knives. And when it comes to grinding and fixed blades and behind the edge thickness and what works and what doesn't, I was a knife maker. So when I do get bent around the axle. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I get bent around the axle when people tell me I don't know what I'm talking about when I do a knife review. On top of all of that, I grew up on a farm. I grew up hunting. I lived on a farm that was well over 400 acres. We had 300 head of cattle at one point, and I carried a knife every day that I was on that farm. So I hunted, I fished, large game, small game. When somebody tells me I don't know what I'm talking about that, I get it. Like, am I going to go on a channel where a guy is teaching like culinary stuff and tell him he doesn't know what he's talking about because he didn't do something the way that I do it at home? No, absolutely not. Wow, says Sephir. What do I think about stiletto falling victim to the energy vampires? It does. I try not to get. I don't respond to it as often anymore. I just kind of just ignore it. But you see the guys, and they're going to continue to do. They'll continue to, like, you can see it. Like, you can see a pattern of somebody that's just a troll. So YouTube has this thing now. When somebody comments on a video, you can see any past comments from that person on your videos, and you just look at it. And if they're all negative, you just don't engage. Or if it really bothers you, you block them. I block people. I block trolls on the live feeds because I like to keep this. If you've noticed, I don't curse anywhere near as much as some other channels. Matter of fact, in my pre-recorded videos, you don't hear me curse at all. And if I do, I beep it. I like to keep this family friendly because I realized a few years ago when my daughter was still little that her friends found out I had a YouTube channel and they started watching my videos, and I'm like, I need to clean up my act. My daughter's friends watch this, which means that my daughter's friends' family are going to hear the way I talk. So I just kind of decided to bring it back to being a little bit more family friendly. I did used to curse a lot in these videos. So what is this? Zach, Mike has done the sharpening on factory edges on a lot of the USA made Ferrum forged knives. Matter of fact, the last three, at least the last 2 runs of knives, I sharpened every one of them, which meant that the last 400 Ferrum Forged Knife Works knives got hand sharpened at my workbench by me, freehand. They paid me to sharpen our knives. So it, yeah, if you owned a Ferrum Forge Knife Works, I can't remember what the last 2 runs were, but I sharpened every one of them that had that had went out. Yeah, for the last 2 runs of knives. What was this? What do you think of narrow blade stiletto like? Okay, that's what I was getting at on the tie light when the guy was talking about it. On a tie light, you definitely want to bring that edge back because let's look in here because I know that there's at least one in here. Grab those 2. It's my briefcase of pain. You absolutely are going to run. What do I think about them? They have their place. They're very good at piercing. So this isn't a stiletto or dagger style, but it falls into that same category because it's a very narrow blade. This one is not as bad as the next one I'm going to show you. The problem you have with these is they are always very thick behind the edge. They have this behind the edge thickness because they are narrow. So your grind doesn't have as much time to transition down. And so you wind up with a very abrupt transition. Even though it is sharp and it does cut, it's a very strong blade because you can see nice thick blade stock thickness, then transitions down gently. On these ones, which is technically a dagger, they call this the Spartan style blade, but it's basically 2 of those knives put back to back. Because it's got that central high ridge, they don't very often cut very well. So, because they're really thick, they are very good for piercing. They're very strong because they have that central ridge. They are really good for piercing and stabbing and things like that, if that's what you need to do. I don't need to do that. They're kind of a one-trick pony. Like, you're gonna, like, American me someone in the prison yard. You know exactly what I'm saying. Show you some Benchmades. I own 1 Benchmade, and I never carry it because Benchmade knives are trash. Not only are they trash, they're expensive trash. So, not happening. Back in the day, Benchmade made some incredible knives. They still have some really good designs. They're overpriced. They overprice and underdeliver. Zach says it has S90V. George, S90V is my favorite steel. Well, it's on that list of favorite steels. S90V, 20CB, M390, 204P, because those are all analogs for each other. So that's 1 and 2. 14C28N and Crewwear. Those are 4 steels that, like, if I could get all of my knives made in one of those 4 steels, I'd be happy. So S90V is definitely up there. S90V, that's my PM2 is in. I like S90V and Crewwear are some of like the best all-around blade steels that I've come across. 14C28N, if you're looking for more of a budget type of knife, you can get them a lot cheaper, but it's still, you're not giving up anything. Thoughts on Spyderco knives? I am a fan of some Spyderco knives. This is the Military 2. So this is the big brother to the PM2 that's out in on my workbench. Because I have to sharpen that one because I got into something and I was cutting a box and didn't realize there was one of those big brass staples in it. And when I was cutting it, I hit it and I fucked up the edge on it. Sorry, I just said I don't curse as much. This is the bigger version of this. This is the 9.5 overall full-size Military 2. This is a great knife. I love this. I love the Endura series. My favorite Spyderco of all times is the Spyderco Police. It is a classic as far as things go. As far as like the best knife they make, it's either this one or the PM2. It's either this one or the PM2, Military 2 or the PM2. They're probably the best knives they make. The CME How's it doing? I love it. I will not have a compression lock ever again that doesn't have this. It's an easy addition. If you decide you don't like it, you take the knife apart, you soak a little bit of acetone on it, it comes off. It's just super glued on there. You're not doing a lot of prying. I've never dropped it, none of that stuff. So it's holding up great. I also have one on my PM2. I have a blue one on my PM2, I have a black one on this one. Sefer Yakabash says, what do you think of We Knives? I like their knives enough that I trusted them to do this knife. This is my knife design. My logo right there, We Knife Company logo there. They did this knife for me. They do great, great work. I have several We Knives. Elliot Williamson over at Fire & Forge Knife Works does his production through We Knife Company. Matter of fact, this knife was the 2022 Knife of the Year. The Fire & Forge Knife Works Aluris, done for Elliot through We Knife Company. Incredible knife. The action on their knives is always super, super smooth. They do great, great work. This is an incredible knife. And the design is great and their execution is amazing. I have yet to see, I've seen bad designs come from We Knife Company, but a lot of times they're being designed by someone else. Never seen bad execution. I've never seen low quality We Knife Company, I've never seen a low quality Reat. Even We Knife Company's budget lines of Senka and Civivi are still incredible knives. And that's the budget lines of We Knife Company. I know they've kind of separated it. They kind of want to like treat it like they're separate companies. They're not. We Knife Company owns Civivi and Senka. Incredible knives. You can't go wrong with them. They do, sorry, my daughter's texting me again. They do such incredible good OEM and work. Their knives are always good. Knives that they make for other people, incredible. You can't lose with them. If you get a knife, it's gonna be a good knife. It might not be the design you like. They might have designs out there that aren't for everyone, but as far as execution, Smock Native Chief, oh, the Smock is horrible. The Smock is the dumbest knife, in my opinion, and this is my channel, it's my opinion, that's the only one that matters. I had somebody go, well, you did a video about this knife. I don't think you should just call it out as a bad knife if just because you don't like it. And I'm like, what else am I gonna do? Like, what other criteria am I going to base it on? Like, am I gonna base it on what everyone else thinks? Everybody loved this knife, so it must be great. Let's go ahead and give it a good review. No. I didn't like it. It was a piece of shit. I called it out as a piece of shit when it first came out. It's still a piece of shit, and I still get heat. They're like, we're basing it on your opinion. I don't. What else am I going to base it on? My data from having carried it? It feels like a turd in the hand. The lock doesn't hold up. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't hold an edge. It doesn't cut the way I want. So yeah, it's a bad knife. Sorry, went on a little tirade there. I don't like the Smock. That's how that started. So Spyderco's quality is good. Yes. I mean, yes and no. Okay. Spyderco is one of those companies that you just know there's going to be specific things. So this is 55361A asks, so Spyderco's quality is good. Their knives are always good. But you are going to find the same things on almost every Spyderco. This one is the only one I've ever had that did not have any of those issues. So you're gonna have a few things that you're gonna find on almost every Spyderco. Pivot's gonna be a little loose. My PM2, I've cranked the pivot down as tight as I can get it, and I still have a little bit of blade play. It's not a big deal. It's not like it's loose. It's not like the pivot's loose. Like if that was an indication that the pivot was loose and I had to worry about it, I would be much more inclined. It's a tiny bit of play. There's a little bit of slop in the pivot. That's one. This one doesn't have that, has 0, and the action is still smooth and free. This one got tweaked by the golden screwdriver at the factory. Your grinds, 9 times out of 10, your grinds are gonna be inconsistent on your edge grind. But the first time you sharpen it, you're gonna have to put a lot of work into fixing it. Their heat treat's always good. Their primary grinds are always good. Their handle material is always good. The construction is always good. So there are going to be some things you notice that, Chunk, what are you doing, bud? Come here. Where did he go? Hang on, I gotta find my dog. Oh, he's asleep by the door. Sorry. So you are gonna find some things that just always are going to be that way on a Spyderco. Unless you just get the one perfect one that gets released like out of every 1,000. I'm always the guy that gets something wrong with my knives. So Craig Vincent, I have 300 knives, only one Benchmade. I used to have 2, Presidio and a Super Freak, but I gave the Freak away. I like the Super Freak. It's not a bad knife, but the fact is that you can get a knife very similar from other companies. I would say Hogue. Anything you find that Benchmade makes, go over to Hogue and buy their version of what is similar. And it's going to be way cheaper, and it's probably going to be a better knife. I have a $50 knife that has a better axis lock. I have one Benchmade. The only reason I have that Benchmade is 100% because I use it for size comparisons in videos, and it's because it's probably the best known, most well-known knife in the knife world. It's the Benchmade 940. I use it for size comparison. It's the only time it's ever in my hand. It's never in my pocket. I think it's a horrible knife. I used to want one so bad. I thought it was a horrible knife. I'll show you something here. What is this? It's mostly just an EDC knife collection. Or do I rotate these for EDC? I carry every knife that you see. All the knives that you've seen me, they find their way into my pocket throughout a month. I probably carry every one of my knives, with the exception of these. I don't typically carry switchblades. These are here because they're fun and fidgety, and I use them for videos, and they are cool, but I don't carry them. They don't serve a purpose for me. So they typically do find their way into my pocket throughout the month. My most carried knives are the 2 I showed you right now. This one's always in my pocket, but I have a couple other knives that spend so much time in my pocket that I have to hide them from myself sometimes. And it's my Chavez 229, just because it's such a cool looking knife, but it's also a really good full functional carry knife. This one's done by Riat. So this one I carry a lot. It was a birthday present from my buddy Tino. This one, it gets carried if I'm going somewhere where I want something where I know there's gonna be other knife guys and it's gonna get attention. It's like pocket jewelry. Guys are like, knives are knives, not jewelry. Like, they can be both. Super functional knife, super comfortable to carry. Awesome, awesome look to it. I did all this, the orange peel and ano on that. I did all that work, but I keep hearing something and I don't know what I'm hearing. That's one of my most carried. And then, well, it's not here. You know what? I let my buddy borrow it. That's why it's not here. So we talked about the 940, right? Let's see here. My mistake, Benchmade has priced themselves out of the market when you consider everyone is a better version of the axis lock. Yes. Would I get another ram lock knife? I love the ram lock. Craig Vincent, I love the ram lock. I think this is the best axis lock that you will ever find. You don't have to worry about multiple springs. It's got one spring. You can actuate it with one hand from one side or the other. You don't have to worry about that whole thing where you have to do both sides. It is great on this knife. It is just an incredible lock, and it's gonna hold up over time. So that's what I say. So no, I mean, in the course, during the course of the day, I will swap knives out of my pocket throughout the day. I'll have one knife in my pocket for a while and I'll use it. And then there's like something will come up and I was like, I'm gonna go here. I need a lighter knife. Maybe I'm going somewhere where I don't carry. I carry knives all the time and I swap knives throughout the day, like constantly. And plus I have knives that come in for review. There's an entire set of 7-foot shelves in my studio that have knives on them in various states of testing and review. And I carry knives in my pajamas. I carry knives all the time. I typically have about 3 knives on me at any given time, plus maybe a fixed blade. Do I know Elkhorn? I've heard of them. I have never seen any of their knives. The company that is doing the best knives, super underrated, is Hogue. I just want a sick-looking design and a knife that does the job. I could check out. Should I check out some Spyderco? Spyderco's pretty good. Why don't I tie paracord on my knives? A lot of times I don't need a lanyard. I don't want a lanyard. I have a couple knives that have lanyards. Typically don't carry. Bladed Ginger's back. What about Solagen? Is that Chavez? It's the hollow. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to get here. Winston Cabretti, Emler, how much material in millimeters do you figure you've sharpened out of your Norseman? A bit. I carried my Norseman way more than I should, Winston. I got it. So what is this Bladed Ginger? How do you feel about the MSI? I did not like the MSI Bladed Ginger. It was a knife that I just never took a shine to. I had a guy send me one. And he's like, hey, I'm looking at getting rid of it. You haven't done a review on it. Would you like to do a review? It came in and I said, yeah, I kind of wanted to do a review, but then I got the knife in and I'm friends with Tony Marfione and it was all 100%. There was nothing wrong with the knife. It's just I didn't like the knife. Typically I would do that, but the fact is I'm friends with Tony Marfione and this is out of character for me. I did shy away from giving that knife a bad review because it was a good knife. It just wasn't a knife for me. MSI is a good knife. This is just better. This is like, for everything that the MSI wasn't what I wanted, this was everything I wanted. And I told Tony this is probably the best knife that Microtech has ever made. So MSI is a good knife. 2 knives. Okay, so I talked about the Benchmade 940. I never carry mine. I have an option that is about the same price, that is a way better knife than the Benchmade 940. And I mean leaps and bounds better. So you've got a knife here, same size factor. This is the same, and to give you guys perspective on how big my hands are, this is the same size as a full-size Benchmade 940. I've got big hands. This knife is the Solar Storm by Eric Oakes. Similar overall package size, similar overall. I don't like a lanyard on my knife. I just told you, Sinai Ghost, I don't need it on my knife. I don't want a lanyard hanging off. I don't need it. I have a couple knives that have lanyards. I just told you this, just said it. I don't like it. And I find the hole that they go through ugly. I just don't need them. I find them to get in the way. They bounce around. They smack into my hand when I'm using a knife. I don't need them. Anyway, this is the same size, same overall shape and factor of the Benchmade 940. About the same blade width, same handle size, overall length, almost identical. Hollow grind, M390 blade, not as thick. It actually cuts. It doesn't have an axis lock, I will admit, but it's a frame lock. And this knife, I don't know if you can tell how much it gets carried. Look how dirty the micarta is. Can you see the clean spot? This knife is absolutely what the 940 should have been. The 940 could have easily been done in this factor and given you a knife that actually cuts. The 940 is too thick. The blade transition is too much. The blade stock is too thick, and they did nothing to try and bring it down. Does he mean wrapping? You can't wrap a folding knife. Most of the knives that I carry are folding. I don't like the feel of paracord. I don't need it. All these knives are perfectly good. If it's a length issue, like putting a lanyard on a folding knife, I don't need it. I don't need it. I can reach in my pocket. I have a couple knives that have lanyards. I don't need a lanyard on the majority of my knives. I don't put it on there. I don't want it on there. I don't like the beads bouncing around because a lot of guys put the big garish beads on it. They slap around, they move around and make too much noise. It goes back to me having been in combat units, and you don't want something that's going to slap around and make a bunch of noise. So it drives me nuts when I'm walking around and I can hear myself making noise. I pride myself in being very quiet when I walk around. It's a skill that I learned in the woods. It's a skill that I used when I was in the military and things like that. The Solar Storm is also a lot more money. It is not. So Machine Co. Bubbles, I'm gonna fucking pop your bubble on that one. This knife is $10 more than the current Benchmade 940. $10 more. This knife is $250. The current iteration of the Benchmade 940 is $240. Titanium, micarta, beautiful milling. This knife, do dads get in the way when you close the knife as well? Oh, damn doodads. It was 940. I think it was 340. They are now 250. Well, the last time I saw them, they were on sale for 250. If they are 340, then yeah, they're $100 more. Which I'll pay that extra 100 to get a knife that actually functions. Big hands. Can't even get my. I was holding a beer the other day. Not gonna lie, I am a big guy. I really am. 6'3", triple XL gloves. I was holding a beer, and my daughter was on a FaceTime chat with some of her. She starts college in September, and she was on a FaceTime chat with some other freshmen, and they're like trying to figure out like some of the stuff. And I was holding a beer, and I looked over, and she was on her computer, and I'm holding the beer, and the guy was like, "What's in his hand?" And my daughter was like, "It's a beer." He was like, "Is it like a small beer? Is it like a mini can? What the?" I'm also looking at getting a Fair and Forge Stinger. Do me a favor, Bladed Ginger. Don't buy it anywhere but Fair and Forge Knife Works. Use my coupon code to get 10% off. The fact is, if you buy it at a vendor, Chris and Elliot don't make hard. They make a lot less. I would prefer to see you buy it directly from them. I have a spinner. I have the button lock spinner, or button lock stinger. I have it right here. It is a great knife. It's worth the money. But I'm going to tell you, vendors really take a big chunk out of all knife designers' cuts. If you can support them by buying it on their website, I will get you a discount, and even with taking 10% off, they get more money directly per sale if you buy it on their website. And it's a great knife. I carry mine a lot. So my shoulder's really bothering me. So I would just take that as a personal favor to anybody that's interested in any of the Fair and Forge knives, Fair and Forge Knife Work knives. Get it on their website. Use the 10% discount code crazysharp that I have, and just support them directly that way, because it's crazy how much the vendors take out of the cut for them to still offer it at the same price that you get at Fair and Forge Knife Works. Because the vendor fees are expensive. Is it possible to fix scratches on a nice blade? It is, and there's several ways to do it. The best way to do it is just to completely refinish the knife. You can do what I did with the handles on this and put it in a rock tumbler with some ceramic medium and tumble it, and it removes scratches. You can stone wash the blade, things like that. But they don't sponsor my channel anymore, Zach. I'll get to that in a minute. But in all honesty, as you carry a knife, those scratches are going to, I mean, you're going to get it every time. Like, it doesn't matter if the knife blade is scratched. This, as you can see, is starting to get some patterns. Let me see. Can you see it? Can you see that there's like some patterns where I've been cutting with this? It does not at all affect. This knife I don't cut with because I don't want to scratch it because I cannot duplicate that finish. But I'll tell you, where'd it go? Where did I put it? This one, $1,200 knife. Can you see how much this gets used? The blade is scratched all to hell on this one. Can you see the changes in the finish and everything on this? Where I've just cut and cut and cut and cut with this knife. Embrace it. That's your knife now. Just keep cutting with it. Yeah, there you go. One scratch is annoying. That first scratch you get on your brand new, shiny new knife, yeah, that's annoying. But it's a tool. My wrenches are knocked around and beat on and stuff like that. It just shows that you use your stuff. And if you've got something, use it. Don't just keep it in a safe. There are some knives that I don't use. That one I showed you, and that's just because the finish on that one is so insane, and I have so many other knives. But using a knife and just knowing that that 100% makes it yours, no one else's knife is gonna have that wear pattern, just embrace it. What do I think of Dahlstrom kitchen knives? Dahlstrom kitchen knives are actually pretty good. They're actually really good. I have a lot of the Dahlstrom kitchen knives that they sent me when they were sponsoring the channel. They're no longer a sponsor, but they sent me a bunch of stuff and it's all been great. I have had zero issues with it. I do have to say that Chris and Elliot's knives, their kitchen knives over at Fair and Forge Knife Works, are actually a better all-around kitchen knife. Functionally, I should say. Functionally, they're insanely good. I do like the overall aesthetics that you get with some of the Dahlstrom knife stuff, but as far as the best functional kitchen knives I have at the house here, even with all the really cool Dahlstrom stuff, it's the Fair and Forge Knife Works knives just cut better. They do. They're a thinner blade stock. They're a thinner transition. Elliot put a lot of thought into that, what he wanted in a kitchen knife for him. So there's just, so Kane, Miranda, the Devo Tallboy, you're the second person that typed it. I have not gotten to see it. Have I ever done a review of Dahlstrom kitchen knives? Several. I've done videos based on their knives, on their stones and all that stuff. Craig Vincent, if I had to pick one production knife company that does the best job offering value for the average Joe in terms of quality, durability, utility, and cost, what would it be? That's a tough one. I've got to say, it's going to be Cold Steel. And if I had to pick a second, even though they're more expensive, way more expensive, it's going to be Microtech. Microtech offers, as much as people complain and say that they've got shitty customer service and stuff like that, they have had really great customer service every time I've ever dealt with them. They make a quality product. I've never had an issue. The only issue I ever had with a knife was a self-induced issue, and they were kind enough to take care of it for me, even though it was my fault. It was not a fault. Technically, they went outside of the scope of their warranty, but you're never going to have a company that does as good a job overall on everything, in my opinion, as Microtech for their folding knives. So Cold Steel, overall value, you're always going to get a good knife from Cold Steel. You might have to get a different sheath for it and things like that. What do I think about the Bushman Bowie? I haven't gotten to see one. I know what you're talking about. They seem okay, but I mean, even Cold Steel's cheaper knives are still a good value. They're still good knives. I talked about it in a live feed the other day where we talked about the Kudu. We talked about the Kudu. It was a great knife, and it's like under $20. It's under $10 a lot of places. So it's just, there's a lot. They have a lot of really good knives. I have yet to have, I've had issues with Cold Steel knives, but I have yet to have a Cold Steel knife fail me. I have had other expensive brands fail me. I'm not going to call anyone out, but I have had locks on knives fail. Never have I had a cold steel lock fail. The triad lock probably is. I don't like the shark lock. I find it fun to fidget with. I don't like it because it's in the way. It's in a spot that I don't like. I find it uncomfortable. Same problem I have with the shark lock on the Vision Field Grade. It's no longer got the safety issue that they had on the Wii Vision R, but the Civivi Vision FG it's the good lock. It's a good lock. It's easy to manipulate and things like that. I don't like the shark lock. It's strong, but I just find that the triad lock is probably going to be unbeatable in strength, in my opinion, and it's just a good functional lock. Cold Steel's folders are always good. Sometimes you got to deal with some edge grinds and stuff. Bang for the buck, very rarely have I had a lot of complaints about Cold Steel stuff. What's the cheapest Bass Knives? What's the cheapest knife you prefer is best use? So last year, I had a knife that came in. It's a $50 knife designed by Ray Laconico, friend of mine, fellow knife maker, amazing knife designer. It was called the Echo. Now it's a $50 knife from CJRB, and it wound up being my knife of the year that beat a knife that took second place that was a $500 knife. The Echo by CJRB, designed by Ray Laconico, is an amazing all-around knife. It is a push button, it's a button lock, great design. I love the steel one with the button lock. It's just a steel frame, button lock. It's amazing. It has got to be one of the best overall knives, budget or otherwise, that has hit the market in a very long time. And absolutely love it. So yeah, the Bushman buoy it's a one-piece thing. It's got a hollow handle. You can strap it to a post or a stick, like you said, and use it as a spear. It seems to be a pretty robust thing. And guys, if you're just joining, please hit the like. We've been doing this for 2 hours. We're probably gonna do this for a little bit longer, but I do have to put all this stuff up because my wife will throw a fit that I have all these knives in the house. So Zach asked, do I have a fixed blade category for knife of the year? No, and I'm gonna tell you why. This channel does not do well with fixed blades. So when I do fixed blade videos, they typically don't do well. The last video I did with the 6 knives that you could bet your life on, if you haven't seen that one, you might want to go check it out. All fixed blades. That video actually did pretty well. I was kind of surprised. I typically don't get a lot of fixed blades in, first of all. And second of all, those videos just don't perform as well on this channel, and I don't do as much with fixed blades as I do with folding knives. I carry a fixed blade a lot, and unless my wife specifically tells me not to put this on my belt when we get ready to go someplace, Walmart, Costco, I go everywhere with this. And Zach is the one that gave me this knife. This was a gift from Zach. This thing went over to Scab's channel and he beat the crap out of it. I've beat the crap out of it. I've had to put a tip on it twice. I have to resharpen it now because I got into something with it and the edges rolled a little. Probably one of the best heat treats I've ever seen on AEBL steel. It's a good form factor. But the fact is, videos I've done about this knife have not done well. They just haven't. Videos I've done about most of the fixed blades that have come in don't do well. I'm hoping that when I get the sheath for the Taipan, that video will do well because it's a striking design. It's just, this was never started and never really took off as a fixed blade channel. Scab and I from Choir Boys Cutlery have talked about this back and forth. When he does folding knife videos, they don't do shit. They don't get views because that's not what his viewer base is looking for. Same with my channel. It's not about fixed blades on this channel. It's always been folding knives. Pretty much. And it's weird that we've hit those little niches, but we're hoping that we're going to be able to send each other. Go over and check out his channel anyway. Our demographic is different. Yeah, absolutely. So what is this? Would you recommend a stropping compound? I use 9-micron strop spray that I get from EDC and Lace. Lacey over at EDC and Lace has probably some of the best strop compound. I like 9-micron on leather. I like 9-micron on balsa and everything like that. So Jonathan says, I'm looking at a Strider S&G Fatty. What do you think of it? The S&Gs are good. Mixed knives are either you like them or you don't. There's no real medium ground. We're like, I kind of like it. Either you like his knives and you find them to be useful and things like that, or you don't. I happen to like his knives. The S&G is a good knife. I do have to say some of the handles are not as comfortable for me as others. Bubbles, Machine Co. Bubbles asks, can you recommend a good fixed blade around the same size as Sea Snake? Love the size, but I want some diversity. Good fixed blade about that size. I mean, I'm trying to think. This might be a little bit bigger, but this would be the direction I would go. And like I said, if you follow my link and go over to Knives Shipped Free, he has other knives. The Lon Humphrey knives are great. And I would love to see you guys support him. So if you're looking for a smaller fixed blade, I know he has some different designs. Just go to Knives Shipped Free and look up the Lon Humphrey knives and see if you see one of his knives you like that might be a little bit. This one, I honestly can tell you this is probably the best. As much as I like my, what QSP fixed blade? I did not make a knife with QSP. I made a knife with Artisan called the Sea Snake. They're great knives. They're a lot more expensive than like my Sea Snake, but they're absolutely not as expensive as they should be. Knives Shipped Free, my link down below to Knives Shipped Free doesn't cost you anything extra. It definitely supports the channel. But I think that is, other than buying it directly from Lon Humphrey himself, and I've talked to him a few times, I do believe that his only authorized vendor right now, other than his website, is Knives Shipped Free. And I can't tell you how good. Just all around, overall, great knife, great sheath and everything. Any folders in the works? Stonehand says, I have a folder in the works with KATSU Knives. KATSU Knives, if you guys haven't seen them, we talked about them before. Jesus, this is a mess. I hope my wife doesn't come home early. I am going to have to end this soon to put all this stuff away before my wife gets home. So QSP, or I'm sorry, not QSP, but KATSU Knives is the company that has sent me a few things, that big fixed blades you saw. I got with them. I'm impressed enough with their stuff that they're doing. This is their ZK04. They sent me this one, ZDP 189. This is every bit as good as a Rockstead, in my opinion. You're getting the same heat treat and things. They're doing a folding knife for me. Carbon fiber, titanium, ZDP 189 at 67 Rockwell on this. They also offer an $80 version that probably has got about the best heat treat on 154 CM that I've ever seen. This one doesn't have a pocket clip. This is the CK01. Also full convex, as you can see, full convex down. It's beautifully done. This does carry in a watch pocket really well. This is the company that's doing my folding knife. They also sent me this one, which looks like a Higo no Kami. Mars, they do incredible work. And like I said, you can check out their website and use my coupon code crazysharp, all one word, all lowercase. My coupon code at all these websites is crazysharp, all one word. So anyway, yeah, they do a great job. All their knives that they've sent me, everything I've seen from them has been insanely good. Jared has sent me a couple things. They've sent me a couple things. Like I said, they sent me this one, which is not a small thing that they shipped off. I have their folding tomahawk. So yeah, there's a folding knife in the works. Now, I say that in the works, all I can think of is not to worry. There's a new festivity in the works up at the Moon Tower. We got one keg already. We're collecting for the others. What movie? It's all I can think of when I said that. When I was like, it's in the works. That's the only thing that popped into my head. Happy wife, happy life. Yeah, absolutely. Especially she's just getting home from work. She doesn't want to come home and like, she lays down on the couch here. No. Does ZDP1 get chippy? Does ZDP 189? No. ZDP 189 at 67 Rockwell is a beast. It's an absolute animal. And you can strop it right back up with that's the thing about ZDP 189. Even at that super high Rockwell, it's easy to sharpen. It really is. I find it so amazing that ZDP 189 at 67 Rockwell is still that easy to maintain on a strop. It really is. It's insane the qualities you get out of that steel. It's insane. It's pricey. I don't like Spyderco's ZDP 189. Both of the ones that I've had come through, one that's mine and one that came in, they're just not, their heat treat's not there. How do I like 3V? 3V is good, but the problem is, like I said, I can make 3V and 4V rust so badly. Matthew McCain, I really live my knives, but I wish she be had yours, mate. Okay, let me translate that because I know what happens. Happens to me all the time too because I got big thumbs. I really love my knives, but I wish I had yours, mate. Yeah, a lot of people say that when they watch my live feeds. You got to remember, guys, this knife collection goes back to 2010 when I started collecting knives after I retired from the military. I started the channel in 2015. Just figure I've had a lot of time for knives to collect. So, but guys, does MBK make good Z? Yes. Before I put everything away, Monterey Bay Knives ZDP 189, right here. Just knives, just keep knives everywhere, knives. They just keep coming out of fucking corners. I did a live feed like this one time and one guy was like, how many goddamn knives are there here? Monterey Bay Knives. This is their ZDP 189 core. It's the Sanmai ZDP one. You can see the ZDP is the actual leading edge on this. Absolutely great on this. This is the slayback. Absolutely. This knife, I have to tell you, this knife, when I got it, and this knife, it was so close on these two for my knife of the year. How many knives? Yes. Guys, just here, look. This is just, I'm going to show you right now. This is just what we've got right here for the video. There's knives there. All the knives from that row are out. One of the knives from that row. There's an entire case of knives over there. And then they're everywhere. They're everywhere. So I am going to have to end this. I got some stuff I wanted to do. This is a thumbs in the eye. Say, yeah, I get it. I get it. You think there will be any new Ramlock knives? I do believe, like, if they're smart, and Tony Marfione is smart. He's a very smart man. He's prone to fits of whimsy and going off the rails on some things, but he is a very, very intelligent person. He's brilliant. He built that business I believe that if he's smart, which I know he is, he's going to release a bunch of knives with the ram lock. Right now, it's the Stitch, the MSI, and this one. You guys want to see? So we're talking about all the knives that are here. You guys want to see something crazy? We're gonna go out to the studio because I need to start taking this stuff out there anyway. So if he's smart, he's going to make a bunch more knives with that knife, with that lock design. So you saw all those knives, right? So the editing computer is there. All of these knives are sitting here. There's a pair of socks. Don't ask me why. Oh, the dog brought those. That is a plum pit, and I don't understand why it's there, sitting there. There's a whole bunch more fixed blades in there. Folding knives there. There's the Benchmade 940 that I never carry. There's a Cold Steel Voyager there. There's a bunch of knives there. There's knives back there. These are all knives. These are my personal knives that I carry throughout the day. There's a knife in there. These are all knives that are in varying states of review. And then there's a bunch of knives up here. Not to mention all of those knives that are in their boxes, and those rolls are completely full of knives. Plus there's a box of knives here that is currently sitting on top of another box of knives. Lots of knives. So, guys, I hate to do it because I am having fun, but battery on my microphone is about dead. And we're pretty much out of time for me to do this before my wife gets home and not get yelled at for having that many knives in the house. So I love you guys. Take it easy. I might do this. I have a model bear. Yeah, I have the. So what is being referred to is the Barrett that I have. I was absolutely a knife making member of Knife Rights. All this stuff that you see here on the back here has come from you guys, the subscribers, including these little fidget things that Machine Co. made. So all this stuff you see back here, like all these, like broccoli head, all these buttons, all this stuff, that all came from you guys, subscribers. And somebody asked me one time, I was doing a short, and they're like, "What's all that tchotchke shit on the back of your filming station there?" And it's 100% because when you guys send me stuff, it doesn't go anywhere. It goes there. I absolutely keep it there because it reminds me that you guys are the reason I do this YouTube channel. And it's the reason that I can afford to do this stuff. So if you guys can afford to join my membership or drop a super chat or a super thank, please do so. If not, just watch my videos and share them with people. I do have to get out of here. Please drop a like on your way out. I love you guys. And I'll see you. We may do this again today. What is today? Is today Thursday? We may do this again this week. I may do one tomorrow, but there will be a video going up tomorrow. So I love you guys. I'll take it easy, and I'll talk to you later.